Okay, chapter 5. Anna Pavlovna's party's coming to close. People are starting to leave. Prince Vasily has already left with Ellen. And now we see Lisa, Bolkonsky, and Andrei. They're leaving along with Pierre, and they made arrangements. Pierre was going to go over to Andrei's house afterwards, and they're just leaving the party. And there's this interesting little dialogue between Pierre and Anna. They were the ones just heavily debating Napoleon and Russia's response, or should-be response. And Anna, up until this point, we've seen her just being very suspect of Pierre and in opposition to him with Pierre's ideas, and feeling he's just behaving out of place in some of the positions he's holding. And we hear this description of Pierre being this broad, stout man. He did not know how to enter a drawing room, as they say, and still less how to leave one. And so this is the time he's kind of awkwardly finding his way to the door and so on. Moreover, he was absent-minded. When he got up to go, he picked up a general's three-cornered hat instead of his own and stood there plucking at the plume till the general asked him to return it. So it keeps reinforcing this vision we have of Pierre, of being this kind of kind-hearted young man. He's actually just full of ideas and is working through them, but he's kind of this big, awkward character as well. But all his absent-mindedness and clumsiness in entering a drawing room and making conversation was redeemed by his kind-hearted, simple, modest expression. Anna Pavlovna turned to him, and with meekness that showed her forgiveness of his indiscretion, nodded and said, "I hope to see you again, and I also hope you will change your opinions, my dear Pierre." And so here we see that even up until this point, it seems like Anna's just totally antagonistic towards him. She too has a soft spot in her heart for Pierre. And so again, you can sort of see this quality of Pierre that kind of permeates, of which everyone's sort of cheering for them, perhaps, or at least there's this vibe, even though he's this young guy and he's this big awkward guy. Pierre bowed without replying, and again showed that smile that seemed to say, "Opinions or no opinions, you see what a fine, good-hearted fellow I am." And everyone, including Anna, instinctively felt that this was true. And so everyone deep down trusted Pierre's intentions and good-heartedness. And so I thought this was a helpful little interaction. And then more people are leaving. You have Prince Ippolit. He's kind of being creepy around Lisa as she's going, but we'll skip over that. And Pierre and Lisa and Andrei leave, and Pierre goes directly to Andrei's house, and being quite at home, went straight to Prince Andrei's study, lay on the sofa, as was his habit, took from the shelf the first book that came to hand, opened it, and commenced reading it from the middle. So he's going, these are friends, and so this is another sort of indication just how comfortable they are with each other, how friendly they are. Pierre just kind of seemingly does what he always does. He just plops himself down on the couch very comfortably. And again, we get this interplay between Pierre and Andrei to just kind of see their own characters, how Pierre wants to keep engaging with Andrei on these topics that are just swirling in his head about Napoleon and Russia and egalitarianism and these type of ideas. And Prince Andrei, you know, in the back at the party, if you remember, he was just bored by himself to talk about these things with others in most instances. Not that he refrained from, he still interacted some, but you see a much more softer side with Pierre, as Pierre wants to continue these conversations with him. Pierre, or Prince Andrei, he was obviously not interested in these questions. It's not possible, Pierre, to go about saying all that one thinks. And so he's like, hey, it's okay, Pierre, just calm down a bit. It's like, he's not insulting him or brushing him off, but he's just kind of like, hey, chill, man. I don't really want to talk about this stuff anymore. And they go on to talk about, you know, Andrei asks him, well, what have you decided what kind of employment you're going to do? And Pierre kind of is like, I have no idea. And he wants to get back into these political conversations with Prince Andrei. He really respects Prince Andrei. And so he says again, now this war against Napoleon, if it were a war for freedom, I could understand it, and I should be the first to go into the army. But to help England and Austria against the greatest man in the world, that is wrong. Prince Andrei merely shrugged his shoulders at Pierre's childish statement. He looked as though he found it impossible to reply to such foolishness, and indeed it would have been difficult to make any other response than the one Prince Andrei made to this naive remark. And so, again, Pierre's just bubbling over, wanting to discuss these things, and sometimes it comes out in extreme ways, similar to what happened at the party. And Pierre's just much more kindly interacting with him on these things. And you can see he's kind of like a few years ahead. He's kind of thought these things through, and but he doesn't know what to say to Pierre. Pierre's just in this mode at the moment. And we know that Prince Andrei is going to participate in this war. He's an adjutant to Kutuzov, one of the major generals, if not the top general, I think. And why are you going to war? Asked Pierre. Why? I don't know. Because I must. And besides, I'm going. He paused. I'm going because this life I'm leading here, this life is not to my taste. And that's the end of chapter 5, but it just totally transitions where we see a little bit more of Prince Andrei, how he's just unsatisfied with his life, and he hasn't sorted out for himself just the positive response that he can have for his life, the path that he should take. And what he does know is that living here and being a young married man, it's just not working out for him. Going to these parties, having these political discussions, it's just tiring for him. You get the feel that there was this momentum in his life that brought him to this, but it's not something he really chose clearly, and he's now just kind of regretting where he is. This life is not to my taste. And so you get this sense that his participation in the war is not wholeheartedly because of the war, but he's just trying to escape his own life in a way, just to find the simplicity of being at war, some sort of purity with it. And I think we'll hear more about this to kind of flesh it out a bit more in the next chapter as Pierre and Prince Andrei talk together.